I've got this 2010 Porsche Panamera. I'm replacing the front air struts today. I'm only going to be doing the passenger side. The driver's side is almost the same, so I'll show the differences on the driver's side just so that you have that knowledge, but I'm specifically doing the passenger side. These struts are nitrogen filled, and you do have to be mindful of that. You're going to have to recharge these at the end of this job, and I'll show a separate video showing how to do that just so that I can explain all of the details. You do need to be careful when you're actually disconnecting the airlines because they are going to be under pressure. Unless your air struts are completely blown out and can't hold air pressure, then obviously they're not, but just be mindful of that. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the tire off. One of these lug nuts are actually keyed and I have that here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. In order to do this job, we're going to have to remove the bolt right there. You can see where that attaches to. And then we're going to have to pull the one for the sway bar right there. And then you see that fork there. We're going to have to remove the bolt that goes right there. Going to have to remove that one. And then I don't know if you have to remove the one for the tie rod. I'm going to find out. So yeah, let me just go ahead and do that. I got the nuts removed. Now I just got to bang them out with the hammer. You see there. And then you see there. I actually have a suspension tool for that, and I'll show you how I get that. You can see I was able to get this one loose. I just got my tool. This is from the Maddox kit, the Harbor Freight Special. I just basically, shoved it in there, banged it tight, and then I was able to just rotate this bolt, and it broke this loose just fine. I had no problem with that. As you can see, I got everything loose down here. One thing, before taking this bolt completely out, the one at the very bottom there, you can see I went ahead and got a floor jack and I picked up the weight of everything. That way it's not just, sagging down. So now that I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and show you what to do up top here. The top part is pretty simple. You can see we got this green airline. I've already disconnected mine, but so yeah, we got the green airline. You got to disconnect that. You do got to be careful because if yours is under pressure, then this is gonna, it's gonna be under pressure. So you got to thread it out a little bit just to where you're hearing it hiss, and then let it hiss and let it air out before continuing to take that out all the way. It's pretty tight, as you can see. It's pretty annoying, but you do have enough room. The next step is going to be disconnecting the clip right there, and it just comes right out. See that? It just pulls right out, and then there's a second, not clip, it's like an electrical connection or something. And then there's a second one right there. You can see it. This one. I got that second electrical connection pulled out. It just pulls right out. So there's going to be 3 nuts bolting the top part of the strut. You can see the first one is right there. And then the other 2, they're buried under this thing somehow. So let me just go through this. Let's see. So you just take this apart. Let's see, is that everything? I'm gonna do some work over here and then I'll video once I've got this completely figured out. I unburied all of the nuts. It was actually really easy to do. So as soon as I stopped recording, I unbolted this piece here, and it was the Torx bolt you see right there that I'm hitting with my flashlight. And after I did that, I didn't even pull this connection out. I just moved it out of the way, as you see there. And then there was this rubber thing that was all along there. I went ahead and I just lifted it out. I didn't even take it out all the way. I just lifted it out of place. And that exposed the nut right there. that you can see. Obviously this nut we already saw. And then I didn't realize it. That last third nut there is actually right there. So at this point I have access to everything, so I'm going to go ahead and take those 3 nuts off. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the difference on that side. The only difference is, so everything is the same other than accessing these 3 bolts up top. All right, I'm at the driver's side now, just showing you how to do this side. Top part's very similar. We got our purple line on this side, our electrical connection there, electrical connection there now. It's all the same. And then our 3 nuts, where are they at? So that first nut is right there. There's no one burying for that one, which is nice. Our second one is right there. There's no one burying for that, which is nice. But then our third one now, just like the passenger side, we got to unbury it, and it's actually underneath here. I think the procedure calls for removing all of this stuff, but you really don't have to. And I'll show you why. Let's see. Oh, I do remember. So I'm going to have to remove this one. I'm going to have to remove this Torx bit. Let me hurry up and do that. Get this panel out of the way, and then I'll start recording again. So I got that third nut unburied. I disconnected that T27 that was right there. And then there was a fastener right there and a fastener right there. You know, I guess it went right. It went through here, but it was attached right there. And it was these types. And then I got this. I didn't move it completely because there's like a wire underneath there, and I don't feel like messing with that. But the way you get away with not disconnecting the entire area is you actually just rip this piece out of the way. You're gonna have to damage that a little bit, but I don't think that's a problem. I really don't. So yeah, see that? See where I ripped it, and see where you can see that third nut? It's right there. And so at this point we have all of our nuts exposed, and we can go ahead and remove the driver's side strut now. All right, so I'm just disconnecting these nuts here at the top. Just getting them all done. At this point, the strut should be ready to take off. I have all of the bolts and nuts removed. I'm going to try to get away with not doing the tie rod bolt, but we'll find out if I have to. So let's see if I can get this thing out. Gosh, get off. All right, so I got this off. One thing that I had to do, so you actually have the ability to like compress it. And I could hear the air hissing out of it when I did that. Basically, yeah, I can see that. See how I'm expanding this? So, and then you can push it down. And it moves really, really slowly. But yeah, that's how I was able to get that thing pulled out. Sweet. I'm going to have to send this air strut in to get rebuilt. These are just way too expensive to buy a brand new one. These are crazy. Yep, there it is. So I got this strut replacement. I decided to risk it with one from a junkyard, so hopefully this one works. We'll find out. One thing that is dumb, you can see how they gave it to me. See that? They didn't have the cap thing in there, so I'm gonna have to reuse my old cap, which is fine, I guess. I do have it, but a new unit or a rebuilt unit would have had that, so that's kind of dumb. But let's go ahead and get this thing assembled. We'll see how long this takes me. before installing these, you can actually press these in. See that? See how much lower this is? Okay, look at that. So you can press these in and it makes it way easier to actually put it in because it's not as tall. You can plug the hole with your finger and it'll still try to expand, but it doesn't do it nearly as fast. So yeah, that's gonna be the trick, is pressing this thing down and having it compressed and then sliding it in there. Come on. Get in there. Okay, I got it. Let me show you what I did there. So basically, I actually got these bolts. See the bolts for the strut? I don't know if you can't really see it. Yeah, there it is. I pushed the bolts, those studs, I put it into the hole to just give me a little bit more clearance. And then after that, I went ahead and just lifted the strut up at like the bottom, just compressed it more. That way I could slide it. I could slide it past the CVE axle. It's hard to see, but yeah, that's how I did that. Now that I have the strut in place, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 3 nuts in there. You got to like lift the strut up and then put it, and then thread the nut in from up top. So let's do that. I'm actually not going to thread these in all the way. I'm just getting them to where they're pretty much bottomed out. Okay, so they're not tight. I'm going to go ahead and assemble the lower part of this. You can see what I'm doing here. The floor jack is like making it way easier. You almost have to have a floor jack to do this job, because I don't want to have to lift the weight of this knuckle all by myself. That's just ridiculous. Let me show you what I did here. So just like before, I got this thing threaded on. I got this one threaded on, and I got the one down there going into like the fork, seeing that thing threaded on. I just need to tighten these now. One thing I really should have did when I was taking this apart is, see the little contraption I got going on there? So I have a socket, just a deep, large socket, just so I can jack up the sway bar just barely. That way the sway bar link, the threads just went right in. I actually had a really hard time getting that thing out when I was taking this thing apart, and I really think if I would have just jacked up the sway bar link, the sway bar, I think I would have been just fine. But now at this point, all I really have to do is just tighten up all the bolts, and I need to just plug in the airlines and the connections. So I'm not just gunning these down. I do got a torque wrench. I'm going to go ahead and torque these down now. Don't forget to put your tire back on. I torqued down all of these bolts, these top 3 strut. I guess they're nuts, but same thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and just put this back together. So I got this part all assembled. Now I just got to plug in my connections. Obviously, don't forget about that. They just plug into the very top of the strut. So I got a close-up view here. Just like before, you just got to plug in these 2 connections. That yellow one, that one right there. You got to get this hose connection. I took my thing off. I really shouldn't have, but I'll show you how to put that thing back in. And then, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and these, you just push them on. There's nothing complicated to it. Okay, so let me show you how this thing is installed. Just got to get this camera to zoom here. So see the distance that it is? And that keeper is like tapered. And the thin end actually goes up top, and then the flat end is at the bottom. See that? That's the bottom end. So yeah, that's how that goes. And obviously, so that was just an extra one that I had. So I got this one installed now. Obviously, when you do this, you got to slide the actual big fitting on first, and then you got to do your keeper thing. But yeah, simple enough. If you are going to drive this to a dealership, you could install this now if you wanted to, but yeah, this is what you're actually going to use to do the air filling. I'm leaving this unattached because when you do the nitrogen fill, you actually fill it through this strut, through the front passenger side. So that's what's going on there. Let's have a quick discussion about these airline fittings for Porsche. I have this set of instructions here. Obviously, it's pretty blurry. It's pretty hard to read, but that's just the best that I could come up with. So I apologize for that. But so with Porsche, they actually don't want you to just thread out your old fittings and then thread a new one in like you think you would do. It looks like they actually want you to replace the airline fitting every single time. I actually reuse mine, and mine's working just fine, so do what you want to do on that. But when you get a brand new part that has an airline fitting, it's actually going to come with a brand new fitting, and it's probably going to come with a set of instructions that you see here. And let's just walk through this real fast. So the words at the very top in red, it says do not remove or tighten the air fitting. So I guess, yeah, you don't want to tighten it, just leave it the way it is. They got 2 sets of instructions, one on the left for removing the old one, and then the one on the right for installing the new fitting now. So let's walk through this. So step number 1 for the removal process, you just look at your airline, everything's good. Step number 2, you slide the large piece back. Step number 3, you're going to slide the small clip off, that C-clip looking thing. And then step number 4, you're going to pull off the other air fitting. Now you've completely removed it. For the installation process now, you already have your part. It's as received. You're going to actually, with a set of pliers or something, you're going to remove the white thing out of there. You just pull that out. Step number 3, you're going to insert your empty, bare airline hose into the fitting there. And then you're going to push it in, and you're probably going to hear it click, so pay attention to that. Step number 5 now, you're going to pull on the opposite direction and just kind of tug it back and forth and make sure it's for sure tight. Make sure it's not going to fall out. At this point, I wish I could tell you that your car is done. You're ready to just drive it around and have a good time, but you're not done yet. At this point, you've got to do the nitrogen fill. When I was calling around for dealerships to see what they would charge, they were telling me about $400 to $500-ish. Don't quote me on that. That's just a rumor, but it's pretty expensive. I do have the equipment to go ahead and do the nitrogen fill myself, and I'm going to designate an entire video to doing just that. So this is the end of this video. Go to my next video to figure out how to do the nitrogen fill.